What's going on, y'all? You're back here with another session. Once again, it's your girl, Pastor Mayo, in the building. It is a beautiful day. And today we got some weather they say for to come in. Personally, I hope it snows. I love snow. Freaking love it. What's going on out there to all my fellow addicts, my humble addicts? I learned what that meant today. What it means to be a humble addict. I really wasn't, I guess, very clear in depth to what that meant, but I do know now. So, hold on, guys. Testing. There we go. All right. Feeling a little bit better now. So, yeah. Last night, we were speaking on the different types of ways in the steps of getting sober. And I was breaking down the steps that it takes to become sober. This cast is literally for those if you want to be sober. I mean, what I'm starting to learn through my growing in this field of becoming sober is this. You are reckoned, with this thing that's going on in your world. And it seems to take up so much time that eventually you look behind yourself and you realize that at least 60% of your day is taken up by either doing it or thinking about it. Now, last night I touched on the stages to sobriety. I touched on the different definitions of sobriety. And I would like to, because I can't sit there and think that you've seen all of my, or that you've heard all of my podcasts, but I know this one thing. I want to keep a consistency in these podcasts. So the information that I gave in the last podcast was based off of talking about your professional help and your support. And the fact that you have to avoid old habits and toxic relationships. I remember before that I ever knew that I was in a toxic relationship, or I knew what a toxic relationship was, I was the toxic person in the relationship. And I don't know about you, but when you realize that you're the toxic person in the relationship, all of a sudden I start not caring that I'm the toxic person because I don't know what to do about it. I call it being myself. But in this person's world, I am causing more calamity than peace. If you're coming into somebody's life and you are causing more havoc than you are peace, you are toxicity. And that's what drugs and alcohol does to us. If you are doing drugs and if you are doing alcohol, and I'm making this podcast for people who do drugs and alcohol, or for the parents or family members or loved ones that's connected to the people that do drugs and alcohol. And so, when we do drugs and alcohol, we don't realize that is one of the most toxic relationships that we have in our lives. You build up on things, right? So you say, I'm gonna go to school. When you go to school, you get into college, And then you say, well, I'm going to pass this class. And you do. You pass this class, you graduate, you get a degree, you go out and you get you a job. You even begin to have children. and have a relationship and raise a family. And you look back and 60% of the whole ordeal involved drugs or alcohol. That's a toxic situation. You should have balance in your life. That's the thing about us addicts. That's how we know we have a problem. You know you have a problem when you say, I'm going to stop, and you can't stay stopped. You know what I'm saying? When it kills you to sit in a room and other people are doing it and you're not doing it. When you don't have the option while you're sitting in a room, if someone says, hey, you want some? You go, yeah, I do. Knowing in the back of your mind, you're still in a hangover, or you just said to yourself last night, man, I'm done with this. Or you said that morning while you was on the Porcelain King, man, if Lord, if you let me make it through this, I will never get drunk again. So thank y'all for coming out. Thank y'all for listening, for taking your time out your life to listen to little old me, little old Pashua, talking about sobriety here and alcoholism. Who thought that I would be talking about it in the sense that I would never be doing it again? And I have to do this every day in some aspect to consistently remind myself this is the walk that we're on. Let me tell you something. When you start walking in the walk of sobriety, of abstinence, of the symptom, this is a daily reprieve. This is a daily sacrifice. And it's really amazing because I've heard people come into this program and they say, well, I miss my children so badly. But you did not miss your children when you were using. You might have felt bad, but you didn't stop using. That's how you know you're a drug addict or you're an alcoholic. There are people who do drugs, yes, and then put it right down. That boggles me because I'm a real drug addict and I'm a real alcoholic. Now, given drugs were not my big problem, but alcohol is a drug, I use the term drug to both of the matters. So let's get into some good, y'all gonna learn that I love definitions. I love getting into the nitty gritty of it, So I brought up last night that the steps to sobriety include accepting the need or change and accepting the need for change and seeking professional help and support. That's the first one. Second one is building a strong support network and avoiding old habits and toxic relationships. The third one is developing coping mechanisms and healthy habits and identifying and addressing triggers. Now, this one is very tricky. Because you might will hear some people say, trigger, I ain't got no trigger. There's nothing that triggers me. I wake up, if I want to drink, I drink. If I go to sleep, and I don't want to drink, I don't drink. But unfortunately, I would like to inform you that you are your trigger. That you are the trigger. When you look in the mirror, you're the trigger. Why? Because you are the toxicity in the relationship. In Alcoholics Anonymous, we say that alcohol is the symptom of a problem, and that's just like this. And this came across my mind last night. Symptom of a problem. So how do I know I'm sick? I'm coughing. I have a fever. My appetite is low. Those are symptoms, and those symptoms will tell you this probably is the ailment, because that particular ailment brings out these type of symptoms. And so that is the same thing when you go to say alcohol is my symptom, my drug is my symptom. There is something else going on deep down inside of you, and drugs and alcohol is just a symptom. It shows that. Because if there was nothing messed up going on deep down inside of you, then there would be no question of what's going on with me. Therefore, there would be no answer. And the answer, the symptom, is alcohol. So A lot of people are bamboozled by, how can we say that this is a disease? How could you say that this is not only a mental problem, but this is a health problem? Well, I would like to say, for one, doing all those drugs and drinking and consistently creating anxiety and chemical changes in your body over and over and over and over again is just not healthy, and it's no way to live. Nobody who wants to have a good life or says that they have a good life wants to live that life in hell. That right there is not living. That's just existing, and there is a difference. So the steps to sobriety, third step is developing coping mechanisms and healthy habits and identifying and addressing triggers. Let's start with this, developing. Anybody ever watched how a caterpillar turns into a cocoon, then turns into a butterfly? If you've ever watched that process, it will perplex you how something that was once on the ground can then go into a state where it seems as if it's dead, but it's hanging, it's just simply hanging from something. But it seems as if it's dead, and then once there's a sign of life, it's no longer captive. It's no longer captive to the ground. Now it has the freedom of being in the air. The amazing part about that is just as amazing as it is to come from being a person who's sleeping under a bridge or living in a nice ass house, but their brain is held and it's bound to whatever position it's in. And I mean like this. So if you always want to stay in the constant state of being high or the constant state of being drunk, you are obviously going to miss a lot in this world. But that means that you are in prison to that highness and that drunkenness. If there's everything you do has to involve drugs and alcohol, you are captive to drugs and alcohol. If you begin to self-destruct when you become when you get away from the drugs and alcohol, I am here to tell you, you are an alcoholic. You are a drug addict. You are being captivated by it. But there is relief. That is the most beautiful thing. There is relief. It killed me to the core of my bone today when I met with my sponsor, and he really explained to me out of the AA book. He showed me, he went from symptoms he went from identifying the problem to symptoms of that problem that would help you identify the problem, to what happens in the middle of that, where you are just in despair. You saying, I'm going to stop. You really mean it this time, but you don't stop. You continuously do it. You say, Mama, I'm done. You say, baby, I'm done. You tell yourself that you're done, and then next thing you know, you are right back in this same freaking cycle. You have that drug or that drink in your hand. And by the time you have that drug and you drink in your hand, after you said, I'm going to stop and I'm done with it, there comes behind that some guilt, some form of remorse, some form of regret. And now you are back in the mindset of what? Of a wrecked mind, of shot nerves. And that is no way to live. No way to live. So when you want to develop coping mechanisms, and they'll tell you that there are some, one of them is being mindful. That's one coping mechanism. Being mindful. Being mindful means to pay attention to every single thing that's going on around with you. How do you react to this? How do you react to that? How do you react to love? How do you react to pain? How do you react to a person that's making you angry on the job? Or how do you react to good news of your favorite team winning, or good news of a baby being born in your life? Or how do you react to it? And I've started to notice when I have wins right now, when I begin to feel like, yes, I am winning. This is it. I am where I'm supposed to be. I get that craving for that blunt. I get that craving for that alcohol because that's how I celebrated. And that's also how I mourned. So when I'm having down days, here I am with this problem. Except now I'm calling it a problem instead of a solution because I've stated, I'm going to stop. So now I'm going through the steps to be sober. And now I need coping mechanisms. Well, like I said, one of them is mindfulness. So you have to be mindful of everything around you. You have to be mindful of the people you call friends. You have to be mindful of the things that you think that you love and that you like, because I am one to tell you that that the life that you're going to have throughout sobriety, after so long, is going to be a life that you just never could imagine. You already had the answer to it. You already had the answer. When I'm sad, I'm going to drink. When I'm happy, I'm going to get fucked up. When there's nowhere else to go and nothing else to do, I'm bored, I'm going to get slizzard. When I got too many responsibilities on my back, I got to put something in my system. And then you come to that crossroad again. When you wake up the next day and you still have the lingering feelings of drunken highness, but you don't have the actual hard base feeling of why, when it's right there to your mouth and you're using it, there is a difference. And so what do? In order to get that feeling back, in order to take control, we put that substance right back in our body. That is a very strange, insane, and scary place to be, because it's an ongoing cycle. And nothing quenches this cycle. Nothing quenches this cycle except for consistently being in it, rolling around in it. Nothing quenches it. Another coping mechanism is taking a walk. Just take a pointless walk. Another coping mechanism, I really like this one, is talking out loud. Tell on yourself. Man, I feel like using right now, yo. I feel like getting fucked up right now, but I know that it's not the answer to it. So I'm just letting somebody know that's the mindset I'm in. And if none of y'all was here, or if somebody don't get here right now, after about a little while, I'm probably going to have something in my system. When you are trying to really survive this thing, you're going to really like that one. It's just like a little kid who knows something's going on wrong. He goes, ooh. When you practice mindfulness and you notice that these things are going on, tell on it. Ooh. Snitch on yourself. And when you expose the things that are trying to bubble up inside of you, when you expose the devil, when you put light to something that loves the darkness, that's a powerful thing. So when you are in the developing stages, when you are starting to say, well, instead of this, I'll do that, it's your world. You really can actually create other good, healthy habits. It also matters what you put in your body. All right? This is beautiful. This is a beautiful podcast that we are getting into. So right now, and I'm going to stop at this spot right here, because I really want to get some more in-depth feedback, and I want to get definitely some people on here on this podcast to speak about what type of habits that they develop. You know, what type of coping mechanisms that they work. And I really like the second part of it, identifying and addressing triggers. Because in the beginning, I was like, I don't have no trigger. I don't know what y'all talking about. I don't have no trigger until I realize I'm the trigger. I'm around here looking, well, is it because I got mad? No, because I drink when I get mad. Is it because I'm happy? No, because I drink when I get happy. So I couldn't pick it out. But when I started looking inside of myself, becoming mindful of how I react to everyday things, case in point, I've been losing friends left and right in this walk. And man, when I tell you, now I have to deal with sorrow differently. One, I have to exercise integrity. You don't talk about nobody when they're not in the room. Just that on that. So talking about them behind their back to fellow peers is not what helps them. Calling them up, seeing how they doing, checking on them. That's what helps them. And you don't have to come with are you drinking? Are you smoking? No. Hey man, how you doing? When people know, when that demon knows that there are people around you that cares for you, it's going to act different. It's going to come at you different. But this is the crazy part. It's going to come sneaky. It's going to come sneaky. So instead of people consistently coming to you with things that anger you or confuse you, now you got people coming to you with all the right stuff, putting you in the right place. Now you got a job. Now you got money. What do you do with that? Because you used to spend your money and your mind, time, and your excitement on celebrating it with drugs and alcohol. Living this lifestyle and trying to live it and then go about your life while you're living it is complicated, but it is possible. It is possible. And if somebody tells you that it is impossible, that's probably because they're not doing it. Don't listen to those type of people. There are certain people that you do not listen to when it comes to AA, NA, CA. When it comes to sobriety, there are some people you have to turn your ears away from. When we are speaking about supplication, when we are speaking about giving up something, you say, I am giving up my drug. I am giving up this alcohol because I want what comes with giving it up. I know what comes with doing it, but what comes with giving it up? When you put that question out there in the atmosphere, when you put that question out there in the atmosphere, I guarantee you there will be an answer. The universe will answer you. God will answer you and give you other things to do. But it will not be, well, for me, it wasn't like monumentous. It was little small things like this podcast. So when I come home at the end of the night, I set this little microphone up. I set this little phone up. I sit here and I speak about my personal walk in sobriety. I have been at this. This is my sixth chance, my sixth try in living a sober life. But apparently I must have some addiction with that. The thing about us addicts is we obsess, we overthink with one of the most, we're one of the most intelligent kind of people that there are. You could put us on the moon, and I guarantee you we're going to find our drug. We're going to create it. We're going to find a way to get high or drunk. We are intelligent people. And so being that we are dealing with this demon and we're dealing with this entity, this thing that takes a hold of us that apparently does not want us to live our best life. Baby, live your best life. I'm living my best life. Do it. But you cannot live your best life hiding behind drugs and alcohol. It is going to stomp the step that you walk every time. And the things that you love the most in this alcoholic and in this drug addict walk, in this drug addict and this alcoholic race, the things that you love the most, you will lose. I guarantee you. So when you are in those rehabs and when you are in those institutions and you are away from your drugs and you are away from that alcohol, one thing I want you to recognize is when you get to missing those people that you love, feel it. Feel it. Feel that suck, as they call it. Get used to feeling that suck. Because with that suck comes a stronger muscle in your brain. Comes a stronger muscle in your body. And it is propelling you to greatness. Be great. Be great. Be great because you have the chance to be great, because there are some people who are 6 feet under right now because they chose that alcohol and they chose that drug. They chose that life. That's what they chose. And that right there is the part that crushes my heart. That there are people who I sit by on both sides, and all three of us have one thing in common. We are more likely to die if we turn around, walk out of that door, or walk from beyond those fences or gates in which we are captive behind. We are more likely to die than the normal man who's not an addict. We are more likely to die. When I wanted to stop doing alcohol, one thing was really just scared me the most was that if I can't stop by myself, so that means I got to go to an institution. And to go to an institution means I can't work. I got to lay up. I've gained so much weight. One of my coping mechanisms has become food. So now, I'm stuck trying to really get that together. And I'm not going to lie to you, it has crossed my mind. If I just go back out there for a couple more months and drink, I can go and take this weight off and then I can stop again. That is the insanity of addiction. Our addiction will tell us that we are thinking the right thing at the right time, and we are not. We lack the reality of right and wrong. We lack that. And feeding that lack is not going to keep us surviving. So like I said, we're on the third one, developing coping mechanisms and healthy habits and identifying and addressing triggers. Addressing. This is my trigger. I need to address this. I went up into the barbershop today, get me a haircut, and the guy had a beer bottle. You would think that was my trigger, but it was not. Because I didn't avoid the trigger, I addressed the trigger. That's a beer bottle. Brain, you don't do that. After the haircut, I walked into a vape shop to go get me some things, some cigarettes, some tobacco, and when I looked to the right of me, it was a big cabinet full of my drug, man, alcohol. And I simply looked the other direction. When you're saying it, it sounds easy, but when you're in it, you go through 2 phases. No, you have to tell yourself no, and then you have to stay in that no. And you have to make it out of there before you do anything that you want to do. I am in a sober living, and if you're in a sober living, don't take this and run with it. But if I wanted to, I could have brought all of that stuff in my backpack back to this place. I could be sitting in this room right now getting messed up, and it would be out of my system. I could. It's the weekend. I could sit here in this room and not go nowhere and not do nothing, and it would be out of my system, and I would be done with it by the time I have to take another breathalyzer. But that will has to be stronger. But this is not my will that I'm speaking of. This will that lies in me comes strictly from God. Because I believe in God. Because I know that God is my keeper. He's my rock. He's my sword. And He's my shield. The next 2 things that we'll be getting into depth with is embracing a new lifestyle and finding purpose, and prioritizing self-care and maintaining sobriety for life, and being aware of relapse signs. Those 2, I think I'm going to bring somebody along who's been in treatment longer than me, successfully. And I'm going to put them on here. In the meantime, I want to thank y'all once again for tuning in, for listening. If you are out there and you need help, I want you to remember these tools. Get help. Accept that you need change. And go to that thing that causes change. I call it the American Addiction Center. And the American Addiction Center got me here. If you have a loved one, going through this, you can call them. They will fly them to whatever rehab that they need to go to. If they need to get out of town, where they can't just return when they want to. And if it's just for a month, if it's just for 3 months, that's 3 months of a longer life. That's a month of a longer life than it would have been for a fact of a shorter life. Consistently taking in that drug. Consistently taking in that alcohol. It is a heartbreaking walk. I cannot sit here and lie to you that this walk is easy and it's full of sunshine. Because there are going to be days when you feel great. And you look around the corner and somebody's crying. They're bawling their eyes out. They are hurt. They are bent. Because life is happening. And their best friend that's been walking with them this whole time cannot be with them, which is a drug and which is alcohol. And so they go to visit that friend. And when they visit their friend, they lose me. They lose you. They lose that person that they was beside because they get kicked out or they die. If you use, you're gonna die. If you drink, you're gonna die. Addict. It's a storm coming, y'all. And we have to conquer that storm. I love y'all. Stay beautiful. Stay bright. Stay blessed. God bless.